Hello, CUT Collective. I am so excited to be here for another Sunday Sermon Rewind. I'm Reverend Sheree, and I am so proud to be a part of the CUT team. What I'm doing is essentially I am here for you as part of the online community, the CUT Collective. We are basically taking all of you who watch us, and we're come on in, sugar, to the community. Come on in, and let's get to know each other. We want to make sure that we're serving you and delivering to you what you need in order to grow into the spiritual being that we know you are. So these rewinds are just a look back on the Sunday sermon. I'm blessed to be able to bring in our lead minister, Reverend Derrick B. Who gave the lesson sermon on Sunday. And so, what I'm asking you to do is to share this out right now. Just right now, you're probably just watching this on YouTube. Facebook is not happy with us right now, with me specifically, and so you're welcome to share this link on your Facebook channels if you're finding it. But if you're watching with us live, you can chat along, you can ask questions, and we'll be sure to get to your question. And if you are watching this down the line a little bit, I want you to know that you can join into the CUT Collective. Just because I can't get into Facebook doesn't mean you can't. So you can go and join the collective. We have an amazing, powerful Facebook group online. And we're also going to launch a group on WhatsApp soon, because I know those of you who are WhatsApp kind of people want to be on WhatsApp to get your information. So we're going to make sure that we go where you are. And that's coming very, very soon. So without further ado, I'm going to bring Rev on so that we can rewind on the lesson sermon from October 13th, 2024. Come on in, Rev.
What's going on, Rev Ree? What's going on, CUT Collective? Peace and blessings.
Yeah, I got put in Facebook jail.
You're in Facebook timeout?
Yeah. So what had happened was, no, somebody hacked me, and then they started an Instagram channel that I guess they were. I never saw any content that was posted. So thankfully, it wasn't like people, they didn't message my friends asking for money or anything. But whatever happened on that Instagram channel got everything shut down. So yeah, I'm learning that Facebook wants you to pay to play, and that includes troubleshooting.
Got it. So they're not even really interested in talking until
You got to be paying some money.
Somebody talks the right language.
Yes, yeah, their language is currency.
They say money talks.
I'm learning that but here's the thing. God bless everybody out there. Let me tell you, those out there on the internet who are the kind of people that go through something and then blog about it. I want to bless you with all the blessings of our heart right now, because that was a shortcut for me, because somebody went through the same thing and they had the nerve to go on to online and share it in a blog. I appreciate that. But here's the thing. We are always here for you, however we can be. And so I'll make sure that for those who enjoy us on Facebook, that you'll get a chance to see the live stream there. For those of you who are on YouTube, you can go ahead and let me know you're there. We are here. We stream live on YouTube as well. So without further ado, we're going to dive into, after our prayer, the lesson sermon from October 13th. And it is a celebration month. And so we're going to celebrate CUT's 68th anniversary, 68 years of changing lives, of inciting a better life in people. Like, think about the amount of people,
yes, indeed,
that have been impacted by this message,
yes,
directly
indeed,
and indirectly.
Yes, indeed. It is absolutely phenomenal. So yeah, let's pray and then let's talk. But even before we pray, I want to just say to the collective, happy anniversary. All right. And so I invite you to, wherever you are, just take a moment to turn within. And if you're able to, you can close your eyes. You might want to focus your attention on your breathing. And I invite you to breathe in deeply and exhale slowly. Allow yourself to slow down, give yourself permission to be present for this, your experience. This entire experience flows forth from your conscious awareness that you can have more, do more, be more, and give more. This is an experience that you have brought forth as a lever to support you in expressing the greatness that has been placed within your soul. And so we give thanks as we rejoice for this opportunity to celebrate and learn and tabernacle one divine expression with the next. We give thanks for this opportunity to remember our true identity, our true essence as spiritual beings. We rejoice and give thanks for this opportunity to retrace and relearn the steps and the principles and the laws that give us the ability to make the most out of the dynamic opportunity we call life. We bless and give thanks for each and every one who tunes into this vibration, wherever you are, whenever you tune in. We know that you're exactly where you're supposed to be, getting exactly what you're supposed to be getting. And as you hear it and work with it and unpack it, I want you to know that it's not too much. It's not too hard. You are not undeserving. The truth is, you are worthy of these insights and more. All the Father has belongs to you. All the mothering nurture spirit within your soul has belongs to you. You are a child of the divine, an expression of eternity, a point of awareness in a vast, unlimited creation. And as a point of awareness in this very moment, your yes causes you to expand, to explore, and to grow in ways that perhaps you had never even imagined. This is your moment. This is your time. This is your rewind. This is your opportunity. You are one changed thought, one changed belief, one new insight away from unlocking your great potential and possibility. That's what this moment holds for you. Take a deep breath. Amen and amen.
Amen. Amen. Oh, that was amazing.
Amen.
Amazing. Prayer is such a powerful tool for energy shifting. I thank you for that. I love those
My pleasure.
reminders.
My pleasure.
Yes. So the celebration that we are in is 68 years. And I just, as much as I love my birthday, right? And I love it for a lot of reasons.
Uh-huh.
I think that the opportunity that it gives us anytime, any anniversary, any special milestone, to look back in the sense of recognizing that there is a mighty force that propels you, that has prepared for you, that you're stepping into. And I always see it two sides. It's like there's this mighty force that said yes, 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 so that I could be in this space. And then I get to do my yes to prepare a space for someone else. And I think it's just such an amazing way to look at and mark these kind of occasions.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
it's great. One, it's just great to um be conscious enough to stop and
Mhm.
celebrate.
Mhm.
Because I'm not a um stop and celebrate type. I'm a we got that done, let's move to the next thing type. Right. So given that my natural inclination is not to stop and celebrate, these kinds of moments force me to do that. Right.
Yeah.
They force me to examine. They force me to retrace and relive, and to be present to yesterday, today, and tomorrow. And as you said beautifully, to honor my role in that while at the same time honoring the role and contribution of all those who
Yeah.
have been a part of that. As a matter of fact, on this past Sunday at the start of the lesson, um, and it came to me. It came to me earlier in the week to to do what we did on Sunday, but I just wasn't sure when we were supposed to do it. And then Reverend McDowell prayed uh, this prayer, and when he prayed that prayer, it really kind of pushed that prompting right back to top of mind for me. But what we did was really kind of two things. Um, Kind of the first thing we did was acknowledge the importance and honor the importance of the yes of the Reverend Dr. Johnny Coleman, right? And
Mhm.
to just kind of recognize the way in which that catalyzed transformation for what I believe are millions of people,
Yeah.
right? Particularly when you take into consideration that the message that she began teaching some 68 years ago is more popular than it's ever been.
That's
And,
true.
all of the people who are proponents of it may not have gotten it from a Johnny Coleman or a CUT or Della Reese or a UFBL or Mary Tompkin, right? Um, all of the proponents, or in fact, the majority of them, may have never even heard of our branch of the tree.
Mhm.
Uh, and yet, we can say with absolute certainty that our contribution has been a part of what makes the water wet,
Yeah.
right? So
Absolutely.
if
Mhm.
at any point, any teacher anywhere, or any student anywhere, or anybody anywhere has been able to quench their thirst at the fount of truth, then we've made a contribution to that well, right?
Mhm.
And so you may not be drinking directly from our cup, but you are drinking directly from our contribution,
Yeah.
coupled with the contributions of teachers down throughout the ages. And
Mhm.
so, as we come alongside a Christ and a Muhammad and a Parks and a King and an X, as we come alongside truth tellers and truth teachers of any ilk, we're just honored to have the opportunity to have been a part of the solution.
Mhm.
The second thing we had an opportunity to do in that moment uh, was lift up and recognize the names of the folks who, at least for the individual, have also recognized the contribution of somebody. Some more
Yeah.
celebrated than others, um, but none any less important, right?
Yeah.
And so for our people to have an opportunity to lift up the name in the atmosphere of folks who have touched them, impacted them, served them, taught them, walked with them, um, was a really amazing and dynamic experience for the body. And those of us who were watching virtually had the opportunity to type into the chat the folks who had touched us and who were a part of our great becoming.
Yeah.
And so it was an amazing experience. And one piece that that I also left present to was that we mostly acknowledge what I'm going to call frontline people. You know what I'm saying? Like people we've seen on the platforms, in the front of the platform, people we've seen in the front of the classrooms, people like that, right? Um, and we should never forget. And and to call them nameless, faceless people is not the right term, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
it's just the handle I'm using to describe those people who don't jump top of mind for us, but who have modeled service for us, who have modeled consistency for us, who have modeled commitment for us, who have modeled giving for us. You know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
the folks who even if their model was an image of what you saw yourself as when you came up.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So we didn't, and this is just from my perspective on it. We didn't necessarily speak the names of those people, and I'm saying for the record, those people have been just as important. Their contribution is just as important. So whether they were serving on the parking lot, or were our ushers, or our bookstore people, or our AV and tech people, or Sunday school teachers, like wherever they are, wherever they've given, for how much or little time they gave it, I'm eternally grateful. We're eternally grateful, because I don't think you get to 68 without it, right?
No. No.
And so it all matters, and it all is a part of what makes our contribution to the well what it is.
Hmm. There's a poem by Pearl Cleage called "We Speak Your Name." And I can't remember how she, like, the occasion that she wrote it for, but it's basically talking about these women who um in different genres, basically, we're speaking your name, we're acknowledging that you're here, that your contribution matter. And I felt that energy watching it, that there is something about speaking someone's name. And there were names that were shared. I didn't get a chance to grab what was in the live chat, because that you can't go back to after it's wrapped. For some reason, we got to fix that. But in the comments, though, there were people. They mentioned Sir Claude in the bookstore, Glow
Did
and
they? That's dope.
Helen,
That's dope.
Donna Kelly. I'm
That's
trying to think of
dope.
some names, that Don Ned, Freddie
That's dope.
Moore,
That's dope.
Winston, and they said
Yeah.
Bill Winston. So I didn't know if they meant Reverend Winston, or if they meant if Bill Winston is someone. I'm not familiar with that
Bill
person.
Bill Winston. So Bill Winston is one of the more tenured, um, uh, uh, full gospel ministers. He's
Hmm.
he's been to CUT on an occasion or two. Very very popular in the Chicagoland area. Former um, businessman or former marketplace executive who transitioned into ministry and established a really powerful work in Forest Park or Oak Lawn, somewhere in the west suburbs. Um, so he's never been a part of the ministry, and you wouldn't necessarily know that from his teaching,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
If you heard his teachings, you could very easily, not lock, stock, and barrel, but if you caught him, you would hear phrases and terms that are largely particular to us,
Hmm.
um, but it's a little known secret that many in that from that group study Fillmore, right? Without really saying to their folks, like, hey, we're studying this guy, because
Right.
when you have a certain slant on it, you want to honor that slant,
Right.
and
Right.
you should absolutely be reading beyond your slant. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that you can always be bringing your people the best ideas that give them the greatest opportunity to make the most of their life, world, and affairs.
Hmm.
So there were a number of people who I would term friends of the ministry who were highlighted, and if his name came up in the chat along with
Yeah.
Winston Johnson, I wouldn't say it was inappropriate.
Yeah. Yeah. It's beautiful to see. Again, when we talk about, you don't know, it's the unknowns of people who literally caught one nugget and ran their whole life on it. You know what I mean? Like it's amazing. So I think that what I want to do this month, and I'm not sure if I think maybe it'll be next week, but we'll all come together and I'll just get some of the other guys to come on, and we can just talk about 68 years. We can talk about, our personal walk, because as I'm listening, and I became a member in LA, right? And became affiliated to even understand what a CUT was from Los Angeles. And so there were some names that came out where like, oh my God, that was my teacher. And so there's I think it's really powerful to hear how the message grabbed you. And I think that where you started the sermon talking about Reverend Johnny's kind of like just who she was, the at the core of it as a teacher. Because you can have all the information in the world. If you've ever been in a classroom with a teacher who wasn't great, then I dare you to tell me something that they taught you, because it doesn't stick. You get enough to get through the class. And but these are lessons that we're talking about. 68 years, and we're plus, right? Not even this is the years of the establishment of this ministry, but plus her learning, her growth space. You think about the 33 years of Jesus, her 33 years, like before she touches all of that, we get to benefit from.
Absolutely.
And so there's a this idea of your innate divinity. So one of the when I talk about the claim to fame of New Thought Christians, right, is your innate divinity. Like this is what is the truth about you. And you talked about how about this spiritual identity. I want to play this clip about it. All right.
And the truth about each and every one of us, regardless of what we think about ourselves, according to William Warch, is that we are the perfect reproduction of spirit, and God has placed within us everything that we need to realize that. He says, but it is waiting to be realized and expressed. Can you imagine having everything you need and it's just sitting, waiting for you to realize and express it?
So I pulled this clip specific. It's a short one because one, I think that's everything we're doing, right? The idea, everything we're doing is about that simple statement.
Unlocking it.
Unlock it. You got it. Use it. You got it. Release it. You've got it. And I think that we are such seekers that we have been taught to seek, and we're looking all kind of places as opposed to more recognize, right? Recognize that you have it. Develop, right?
And so and I'm not sure who to attribute this to, but it's almost this notion that the gods were talking, and after they created humankind, they're like, well, so they're amazing, but where should we put the keys to let them know about how amazing they are? Put them on the moon, put them in the depths of the sea. Someone says, put it within them, right? Like that, like they'll never look there, right? But the good news is that God had and has a purpose and a plan for each and every one of us, right? And I like to say, the DNA of the divine is baked into all that God created, and that plan and that purpose includes our having the innate ability to not only be divine, but to use what we've been given so that we can navigate life successfully.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So when in that William Warch quote, who was the author of New Thought Christian, this notion that we are the perfect reproduction of spirit is very, very insightful, right? So, but the step before that then is to make sure that we understand the nature of God.
Right.
Right. So if I'm the perfect reproduction of spirit or God, then it's important that I understand the nature of God. And Reverend Sheila taught about this the week before. And we know that the nature of God is absolute good, right? Now, the better we understand the nature of God, the better we can understand the nature by which God created each and every one of us, right? And so there is this divine pattern that was placed within us. And from that pattern, we're equipped to have more, be more, do more, and give more. But the key is for us to understand how to do that, right? And for many of us, one of the barriers to that understanding is our previous programming, our previous conditioning. And so, to the point that you made earlier, one of the great value propositions of New Thought Christianity is that you are innately divine.
Right.
Again, Reverend G often says that there's something radically right about you, right? And but for many of us, our programming is completely counter to that. Not only have we not been taught that we have an innate divinity, we've actually been taught the opposite, that something is radically wrong about you. Something is
Absolutely.
something
And
is broken in you,
and
right?
will always be broken.
Right.
Yeah.
I can't even. It's not even coming to me because it's not really a part of my programming. What many of the phrases are, but I'm thinking about the Amazing Grace song, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And so, one of the things that Reverend Coleman brought to us and highlighted for us and enlightened us with was this reconditioning or this reprogramming about this divine pattern that's within each and every one of us. And so, as the perfect reproduction of spirit, we can truthfully say, all that God is, I am, right? And when you affirm that or reaffirm that to yourself, and you find yourself starting to feel uneasy or uncomfortable, particularly as you look at your track record for mistakes,
Yeah.
it's important to remember that the mistake is an episode. It's not an identity, right? The failure is an episode. It's not an identity. It's feedback. It's not permanent, right? So that's really where we wanted to springboard from when we're talking about and this lesson was particularly about what identity are you wearing today. When we're talking about the identity we're putting on, we want the default identity to be that of our divinity.
Absolutely. So there's a lot that I feel like when you said that, like, certain things weren't part of your vernacular anymore, right? And I started reaching for it. I said, I think it's like worm of the dust, or like
That's one of them. That's
right,
one of
right.
them.
So it's this idea of this is who I am. I am worthless, right? And so
Mhm.
it's just by grace that I can get anything in life, right? And but tying those two together, they have to go together. But this idea of innate divinity, I used to wonder, what if I had never encountered New Thought? Like, would I have a way to know who I am spiritually without this language? And I don't want to. I think I may be getting ahead of myself because I do want to talk about you. You bring this up in the lesson, but your innate divinity is not. It is within you, but it's always speaking to you as well. It's always a presence in you. We think about voices in our head. It's always a dominant thought, but you can be practiced out of listening
That's
to
right.
it.
That's right.
You
Absolutely.
can be
Absolutely.
practiced out of basing your life out of that insight, or even being able to understand it anymore.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And so I think to your question, so I think it's a question of our receptivity, right? Because as I start to explore um, my being, and I come to this question of, is this all there is,
Mhm.
right? Um, Arriving at that question makes the space for that which is within me, that divine activity within me, to press forward and say, no, this is not all there is. Right? There's much more depth to you than what you've demonstrated thus far. Right? There is more of all of it in you than what you realize at this point. So I'm really glad that you're asking yourself this question. Now, the question in and of itself starts to attract to you, right? Our questions are energy attractor patterns.
Yeah.
In, I think it's Power versus Force, and the author escapes me. But he talks about these energy attractor patterns. And so the question in and of itself is the pressing out and expansion of consciousness, right? That's why asking questions is so important, because it's an indication that I'm ready to push beyond the limitations of my awareness. So as I start to contemplate the question, I am pressing the borders of my awareness. I'm expanding beyond my current state of awareness. And as I move beyond my current state of awareness, I attract to me then those experiences, those people, those places, those insights, those books that give me the ability to come to know that, yes, in truth, there is more. Let's take Reverend Coleman's experience. Let's take Reverend Coleman's experience with unity. Oh, I didn't mean to do that. I'm on a call.
I'm like, no, we hear you. You're good. You're good.
So I think so Mother Parker obviously has some new thought material around the house. Right. But it according to the story, it doesn't seem like it's something that Reverend Coleman is paying attention to. Right. And it's not until she finds herself in a state of crisis that by miraculous accident, in a moment of being distressed and distraught, that she knocks a book off the shelf. The book falls on the coffee table, and the pages in the book are from Unity Village, and it has these words that completely contradict an experience that she's going through. Right. But prior to that point, she hadn't been contemplating, at least as far as we know, this idea of new thought. Right. But it doesn't mean that at some point earlier she hadn't been expanding her awareness or asking certain questions that helped to galvanize the experiences that brought into her life a gateway to walk through. Right. So when I start to contemplate the question, I am opening up greater possibilities. Right. And I think I said this in the lesson. Our greatest limitations are not what we want to do and can't. Our greatest limitations are the things that we can do that we haven't even contemplated yet. Right. And so that contemplation starts the attraction. So if you never come across a CUT or a CUT collective or a UFBL or an up church, it doesn't mean that you won't attract to yourself the gateway that you are to walk through to come to gain the insights that help you come to know whose you are, and what you're capable of. Right. We know there are multiple gateways.
Right. Yeah.
And we attract the one that's best for us, best suited for us.
And I think it comes over and over again. Like you said, that this is there's a point when you're asking yourself a question that you've asked already, or there's an answer that's been supplied, that's been given already. And now all of a sudden, as a teacher, it can be really frustrating when you've been saying something to a student, to your child over and over again. And then somebody says something and they act like it's an epiphany. They never heard it before, right? Like, oh my gosh.
My daughter, it was one summer. My daughter was maybe in her early teens. One summer, and she's ready to go out with a friend and the friend's mom. And so she got this sweater or sweatshirt on, some like a heavy overall, like she is cold weather appropriate, except this is summertime, right? And so I say to her, you probably want to put on something a little more weather appropriate. No, I'm going to wear this. Her mom says to her, you probably ought to put on something a little bit more weather appropriate. No, I really like this outfit. I'm going to wear it. The friend's mom says, you probably ought to put something else on that's a little more weather appropriate. She comes in the house and she changes clothes. Right? You know what I'm saying? So, yes, I agree. I agree that the insight will continue to present itself, and it's just not until we're ready to hear it, receive it, and act on it that we get the benefit of the insight. But it doesn't mean that it wasn't there the whole time.
Right? Exactly, all the time, right in front of you. There's a quote that you dropped and just kind of left it out there like it wasn't a big fat bomb. But you said that we are always fulfilling our expectations of ourselves. You remember saying that? We are always fulfilling our expectations of ourselves.
I don't, but I don't remember saying it, but it does sound like something I would say.
So that hit me. I paused. It actually kind of got me off track a little bit, because I sat there thinking about that my expectation of myself is what I consistently fulfill. And it's like, there's some areas where I'm like, it's time to change your expectation of yourself, because you can't fulfill, and you're going to fulfill what you expect.
Yeah. Like you say, you don't get what you want, you get what you expect.
You get what you expect. You get what you expect. And so this is, I thought that tied so well into this idea about this identity, because you're also getting more of yourself, right? So if you believe that you are not capable, not able, or anything, you're going to keep attracting experiences to prove that back to yourself.
Yeah. Yes. And so I believe those experiences are trying to teach me that I am greater than the experience, right? And I get to have that experience at the elementary level or the doctoral level or anywhere in between, based upon how committed I am to holding on to my current programming.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And the moment I decide that, yes, I am made for more than this experience, then that school of lessons is complete. That course is complete.
Yeah. It is, you gotta open yourself up to, like, this is why I think it's good to pay attention to maybe what you've been through, because some people stay focused on the past too long. But I think that there are some messages, some clues, you can see some patterns, when you start looking back like that. But you can't attach yourself to what you look back on. It's just like, this is just some clues to what I've been through. This is some clues about how people have been perceiving me. And you talk about that in this next clip about Jesus asking his disciples, who do you say I am? So I want to play.
Can I say one thing? Can I say one thing before you play that? Right. And so there's this notion that some people and some situations come back into our life to see if we're still stupid. Right. So yes, it will come back to test my level of stuck on stupid.
Oh yeah, you still here for this? Oh yeah, you're still here for this. Yeah, you're still here for this. Hey, let's play.
Yeah,
you're still here for it.
Yes.
And that is, but I'll tell you, because I think about myself, I think about the spaces of my greatest resistance, the places I can't see, those corners that I don't have the insight to be able to really look at objectively, and think about like the lessons that are coming up. I'm gonna look back because I know there's sometimes I'm look back like, wow, you were really fixated on this way of being, and to know, I know that there'll be a day I'll look back on right now and think
That's right.
about think about myself like, wow, you've really grown from that space that you were. And that's a good thing. So if you're feeling, that's why sometimes you got to get out of your moment. Like the moment cannot be great. The experiences you're going through cannot be great. But you have to recognize that it is just, you're living out what you said, you're living out your prior expectation of yourself. And so the work is to get a new one.
Yeah. And when we do the reflection, we should really do it without judgment.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like in it as an expression of love to the self. Like we should do the reflection without judgment. So even when what I just said about some situations and people show up back in our lives to see if we're still stupid, like I don't have to judge myself for being stuck on stupid. Like once I do the reflecting and I see, yep, okay, that happened in this experience, that happened in this experience, that happened in this experience, and there were 3 different people who all brought the same experience to me, then now I know that it's lovingly time to give myself a shift out of the awareness that is okay with those experiences and to shift up into that expression of the divine that does not have to deal with that type of experience.
Right. Which identity are you wearing? All right, here is
today. Because we wear different ones all the time.
Which one am I wearing today? Oh, sweet Lord. Okay, here we go. This is not about me, everybody, just so you know.
Me either.
And I think that's insightful for me because sometimes other people's impression or opinion of you can shape how you see yourself. The labels that other people put on you can be picked up and worn as badges of honor or badges of shame, depending upon how consistently you identify with how they identify you.
Ooh,
and if the master teacher is susceptible to the labels of others, then what about you and me?
So the labels of others, like this is, I think that I thought about, well, okay, let me tell you, I'm reading this book. Actually, let me be honest. I'm listening to this book.
Listen, bro, I've well, probably not as many, right? Probably not as many. So I'm through probably. No, let me not interrupt. Go ahead, Rev. Because you talk about your stuff. Let me not pile my stuff on top of your stuff, even though something tells me it's some of the same stuff.
The same stuff. I'm in a remember Columbia House where you get the tapes in the mail?
Yes.
I'm in a Columbia House experience with Audible. I got so many credits. Okay. So I'm listening to this book, How to Say Babylon. And it's a memoir by this woman, Sydney Sinclair. Am I saying her name? Sophia Sinclair, who basically grew up Rastafarian. Like she grew up in a Rastafarian household and she's telling this story. But this idea about who do you say I am continues to ring in her head because at some point she realizes that I don't want to become a woman that is reflected in this particular culture. Like and also, wait a minute, that I'm being set up for this. You know what I mean? And so this idea of who do you say I am and thinking about all of the things around her. So there was a point when she had some freedom in it because she hadn't locked her hair. She was still a child. But once her hair locked, that was a definitive characteristic of Rastafarianism. And that meant that now people are going to say things about you in terms of how they've associated that movement. And so so a lot of the book is about shaking the shackles of who people say that you are when you know that you're more than that. You
That's
know,
good.
it's if you think about the women who are being who are constantly subjecting themselves to relationships that are beneath their divine identity, beneath the beauty of their womanhood, it is
Mhm.
that you got to shake the shackles
Mhm.
of desperation. You got to shake the
Mhm.
shackles of not enough. You got to shake the shackles of other people's opinion about who you are.
Mhm.
I thought that hit real hard. Who do you say? What label are you wearing? Maybe even unconsciously, that is defining how you show up in life, and again, what you expect out of it.
Yeah. Most often unconsciously.
Hmm.
And there's some value in recognizing uh, that people see you in the way that's most comfortable for them,
Right.
right? So when they identify you, when they label you, when they say you're X, Y, and Z, it's not an indication at all of where you are, as much as it is an indication of how they're most comfortable being in relation to you, right?
Hmm.
So even with Peter, um, we know from Peter's behavior that he derives um, certain status from seeing Jesus a certain way. And we see Peter when other folks get close to Jesus. Peter gets a little kind of some kind of way about it, because like, I'm supposed to be right
Right.
next to you.
Hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Like, what it was, why is this dude all up under you? Like, that's my spot. You know what I'm saying? And Peter's not the only one. Some of the disciples recruit family members to advocate on their behalf for seats on the right hand and left hand of Jesus. Right? Like, there's some status that's attached to being that close to this guy.
Hmm.
Right? There's something that it says about me to be that close to him. So it's is it purely that flesh and blood didn't reveal it to him? Spiritually, 1,000%. Right? Spiritually, 1,000%. But in terms of Peter's own ambitions, he's not that different than the rest of us
Right.
who identify things in others in ways that make us comfortable. You know what I'm saying? So that's why when we say what you think about me is none of my business, like, that's not just some cute thing to say.
Right.
That's a powerful reminder that someone else's perspective of you has no impact or influence on your awareness unless you make that so. The moment I accept the label you put on me, then it's no longer your label of me. It's the way I label myself.
Absolutely. Yeah. And if I know that there are some spaces where culturally or just through your experience, you may not know that you are wearing other people's labels. We grow up, we're wearing the labels that were given to us by our families, and and so it just going through school, you're wearing the labels that are given by your classmates. But as we wake up to ourselves and just recognize that I can define it, right? That there is a pattern first to work with, because I
Mhm.
think that that's what you start, just exchanging one identity for the other, right? Like, okay, so
Mhm.
now I'm this other thing, and
Mhm. Mhm.
not getting that there's a pattern first to work from.
Mhm. Mhm.
And that's what that question of who do you say I am? I think we all have to ask that question of
Mhm.
ourselves, um because I took it, I went right to me, like, who do I say I am? When
That's
I
right.
define myself, we've been talking about branding with the ministry, personal branding. I'm in the middle of a rebrand, right? And the idea
Mhm.
is, who do I say I
Mhm.
am?
Mhm.
And I said, man, I'm not clear. Like, I
Mhm.
and I get, getting in the middle of your own change. Everybody's in the middle of their
Mhm.
own change. Who
Absolutely.
do you say you are is such
Absolutely.
a important question, because it's going to
Absolutely.
determine then how you show up and how you
Yes.
move forward and what you expect of yourself.
1,000%.
Yeah. Yeah,
1,000%.
yeah. What's your brand? What's your brand? Like,
Mm.
you know, I've asked you that question before, not live here on a rewind, but
Right.
like, what's
Yes,
my brand? And you're like,
but we're certainly unpacking it.
yes, we have to, because it is important that there's a you emerging that is foreign to you, that you're going to have to build a relationship with, right?
Mhm.
So that I think when people get stumbled on a question like, who are you, or what are you here for, what's your purpose, that sometimes there's something emerging and they're
Mhm.
just not familiar, not intimate with it yet, right? And there's
Mhm.
an intimacy that comes when you start asking and answering questions for yourself like that. Like, that's, I want to know who I am above everything.
Yeah, we were in a training and uh for this particular section of the training, uh Reverend Helen Carey was leading the training, and I'm sitting in the back of the class in the absolute last row against the wall. Right. It would have been difficult to be further away from the front of the class than I was. Like, there wasn't much space left to be further away. Maybe I could have been a seat or two over to be further away, but not by much.
Uh-huh, uh-huh.
And so I'm sitting in the back of the class, kind of incognito, I'm thinking. And she says to me, something to the effect of, "What's next for you? Like, what are you going to do?" And I don't know if at this point, I don't recall if at this point, uh, I'm I don't know that I've entered teacher training yet. Right. I don't know that I've entered that yet. And so the question, and she asked it in front of the faith chapel full of people. What's next for you? What are you gonna do? What are you gonna do? And you know, I can't get much further away from her, but I can't hide well enough either. Right? But the question forced me to contemplate, what am I gonna do? Right? And we talked about Reverend Coleman being a catalyzer, but that question was a catalyzer as well.
Yeah.
Right? And so it forced me to contemplate a different identity than I had considered prior to the question.
Yeah. There's a power in questions. And I think that if you aren't asking yourself questions, if you're not in an environment like that powerful workshop where questions are being asked of you, because, you know, typically when I hear a good question, I write that down. Like, I need to make sure I journal about that, because that's a question that is, they break through your atmosphere, your previously conceived notions of yourself.
For sure.
So this, from these lessons, right? One of the things I'll challenge anybody who's listening with is, find the question that you need to answer from yourself, right? So if I say, who do you say you are? That's the question. Maybe that's the one that you walk away with. If it is, because like I told you, my gut punch was, we are always fulfilling our expectations of ourselves. My question is, what do I expect of myself?
What do I expect? For sure.
You know,
yes, that's right. That's right.
What do I expect? Because I'm
That's
fulfilling it, and I can.
That's right.
It's a lot of layers to that, you know.
Yep.
And a spaces to be content, places to be, because you know, there's an eye where I used to look at questions like that and think of all the things I didn't like. But there's a tremendous amount of things that are going really, really well.
That's right.
And it's like, so okay, I'm clearly expecting some new things. I've grown in terms of what my expectations are. But from where I am right now, from where you are, how you're showing up right now, what's your brand? Right? There was a point when who I was someone who lived in the hood, who, when people started shooting, laughed and ran. You know what I mean? That was a part of what I did. And I think about that person. I'm like, oh, so you were fearless, like ignorant, but fearless, and really felt like you were impenetrable. That's a great quality to have. But guess what you have now? Wisdom, right? So the wisdom is flex that impenetrable nature somewhere else. right?
Right. That's right.
That's
That's
that.
right.
That's
That's
somewhere
right.
else.
That's right. That's right. Get down in this scenario and get up in the other scenario.
And then that's a whole other
Yeah.
space where you can be as
Yes.
fearless as you choose to be,
Yes, absolutely.
without bullets flying in the air.
That's
Um,
right.
there is a situation that you can be in where, again, this clip I think really hits like how to think about yourself in the midst of things that aren't great, because we all, not say we all, but there's a time when we go through things and just things aren't
Sure.
great. Things
Sure.
aren't great. And I think that we hide sometimes in those spaces. So I like this. I feel like it was just powerful affirmations of truth around how to think when things aren't going great. And I don't even know if I pulled the part where you talk about things not going great, but tied together for your salespeople. Here we go.
And so I want you to know that regardless of what's showing up for you right now, you carry within you the DNA of the divine, and you are a perfect spiritual being. Even as you sign your signature to the bankruptcy paper, you are a perfect spiritual being. Even as the relationship is coming apart at the seams and life is about to start over for you, you are a perfect spiritual being. Even as the creativity is not flowing and the ideas are not moving, you are a perfect spiritual being. And that perfection seeks to express itself within and through every aspect of your life, world, and affairs.
Oh, wait, where we go? Okay. All right. So no matter what you're going through, you're still a perfect expression of the divine. And that is, I think, like I said, that statement, that affirmation is, it may be all you have at that moment, right? You may not know how you're going to get out of something or all of that, but to know that this is who I am no matter what.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's beautiful. And to know that it does not change even as the vicissitudes of life and the winds of life are beating on your sails. Like that's it's great. It's great to know that my identity is firm. The
Right.
truth of my identity is firm, even if my foundation is shaking.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
That's good news. That's good news. And yes, if I find that that's the one thing I have to hold on to as I make it through the storm, I'm confident in saying to you that that will be a strength if you'll consistently and consciously hold on to that piece of truth in the midst of and in the face of whatever it is we find ourselves going through. If I'll consciously and consistently hold on to that, but then that also means that I have to insist on staying with that regardless of how much the conditions seem to be trying to push me off of that square. You know what I'm saying? Like I've got to maintain that stance in the face of the challenge, and recognize that even the challenge is just an opportunity when you understand who you are and whose you are. Right. But I have to be committed to holding on to it.
So I have a few more clips. Okay, let's see what happens.
Let's do it.
How many people do you know who throw back opportunities because when they look around, they don't seem to have or be equipped for the opportunity they've been praying for? The only reason you go fishing is to catch.
So this idea you had presented with a story where someone's throwing back the big fish because they don't have their pan won't fit the big fish, right? So this idea that your belief system has trapped you into a certain way of living, and you said that another, I would call this explosion number 2 that you didn't really get to, was that belief traps you in your problems, right? And and I thought that was awesome to hear, right? Why am I having these challenges? And it's because it's something going on with my belief system.
It's my belief that's got me trapped. Yep.
It's my belief that has me trapped. And so that's why people don't want to come to your church, because
hey, but listen, I mean, so I can give it to you sweet and fluffy and undisturbed, but when you walk out of the building, or when you turn off the live stream, like, life is there.
Yeah.
And what I want for you is the same thing I want for me. And what I want for me is not that there be no more challenges, because that's unreasonable, right? It's unreasonable to expect that there will not be opportunities to grow. That's what I'm calling the challenge. It's an opportunity to grow. It's unreasonable to expect that summer won't follow spring. Like, for as long as we can remember, summer follows spring, right? So I'm not trying to set up a scenario where summer no longer follows spring. What I'm trying to set up is the ability to navigate summer when it comes,
Right.
to be the ability to navigate it successfully. What I'm trying to do is have the ability to take advantage of the fall when it comes, when the time comes to reap. I want to have made the most of the opportunity to sow, right? So when the hot part of life comes, when the summer of life comes, and it starts to scorch the seeds that I've planted, because they weren't necessarily planted in the fertile soil, I got to know how to navigate that, right? Yeah. And it's when the sun is scorching the seeds, it's too late to pray at that point. Like, that's done. Those seeds can't produce their potential. So I got to know how to navigate that. Yeah. And the way to know how to navigate that is to also know how to make the most of springtime. If I know how to make the most of springtime, then I'm better equipped to deal with the heat of summer or the cold of winter. Right? So that's what I want for myself is not that there will be fewer challenges or fewer difficulties or fewer hardships. What I want for myself is to know how to navigate those in a way that's consistent with the fact that I am a spiritual being and the DNA of the divine is baked within me, because at some point I might have my crucifixion experience again and again and again and again. And I have to know how to manage that experience in a way that's consistent with what has been placed within me. And so I don't really know how to teach you that's not going to come, because at least for as long as we can tell, it comes, and it comes for everybody.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So, like, there's no getting around that part of it. It's a part of the course of life. And if you sign up for the course of life, these prerequisites automatically come with it. So you don't even have to choose those. You know what I'm saying? It's a part of the curriculum. You don't have to choose them. It's just a part of the curriculum. But if you know it's a part of the curriculum and you've prepared for the test, when the test comes, you might still feel a little uneasy. You might not be the most eager test taker, but you're prepared. And so I say that to say you should show up anyway.
Show
Right?
up anyway.
You should come get your good anyway, because life is going to happen,
Mm-hmm.
and it won't always happen on my terms, but what's happening within me is always determined by the consciousness I've established, and that consciousness is directly related, as you said earlier, by the awareness I have of the DNA of the divine that is within me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think that I know that there are people who run to church only in emergency, right? So they never get a chance to kind of just have the consciousness building thing. They're always dealing with a crisis.
Mm-hmm.
And then there are people who run away from church when they're in the midst of it because they only want the good
Mm-hmm.
when the good is flowing.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm saying that there's a space for it. Like, you need to hear it and be immersed in it. Because I don't know about you. I'm just going to speak personally to me, because I am, when I'm in the midst of my human experience, I think a lot about my problems. Like, it is on my mind. I'm talking about it. I'm complaining about it. And I have to shake myself out of it, because I'm essentially just creating more energy around it.
That's right.
And
That's
church
right.
is
That's
a
right.
system. That's like
That's right.
the cool
That's
thing
right.
about church is that it's happening.
That's
right? Your
right.
church may happen, and now you can look at church anytime. Like, it's just it's a great thing right now that we're in.
Yep.
You don't have to wait till Sunday and suffer till
That's
Sunday.
right. That's true.
Click
That's
in
That's
and
right. That's right.
you'll have your word. You'll get
That's
your
right.
word. You'll hear what you need to hear.
Yep.
It may be one of those questions. It leaves you with something new in your mind. Better yet, it's something versus watching stuff on TV. Watching, like, you try to distract yourself from it, as opposed to immersing yourself in the truth. So that's my commercial for you should dive into a community. It really does help when things are good. It keeps you in the right space of flow. You're an amazing example. We talked about the people that come before, that their yeses we get to still be blessed by.
Yes.
So your yes, you're good, all that's going on, people get to be blessed by. And when things go left, it's left the bad way.
Sometimes do. As they
left
sometimes
the bad way,
do.
right? Yeah, when things go left, then you got a space where you can come and hear the truth again and be fortified and be nurtured. This clip, I think I'm going to stop on this clip, but you talk about I'm not going to say you're talking about anybody specifically, because this is not a political podcast. This is not a political live, but you're talking about somebody specifically. But I thought that the metaphor was really, really powerful. If you're in that space of recognizing that you're meant for more, but maybe not feeling like you're up to the task, like you're big enough. So let's see how this one flows.
Waves don't begin as waves. They begin as ripples. And sometimes the ripple takes decades to form before it truly becomes a wave. So it would not surprise me in the least bit to consider that a ripple that began in 1956 could become the wave that would change the face of the paradigm as we see it and know it and come to understand what's possible when you know who you are and whose you are.
That this is the reality, is that I always think about the progress of something and the time it takes, and all of that, to think about how many times have people given up on something amazing because they got swept up in how long it was taking, or maybe that 8th obstacle was the last one that they were able to sustain and to push past. But the wave is it's momentum that's helping you get to the wave. And I think that if you're in that process in any space, I just thought that was such an encouraging word to hold tight. Hold tight. Keep going.
Yes. Yeah. Now, sometimes you do have to be willing to deal with the ripples before you get to ride the wave. Right. And like the scripture says it this way: like, do not despise the days of small beginnings.
Yeah.
And like we all want our transformation and we want it now. You know what I'm saying? Like we all want our increase and we want it now. We see DIY shows that radically transform homes in 30 minutes, and these people now move into this new reality. But what we often overlook is the miracle of production,
Right.
right? Because we don't see all of the work in between
Right.
that
Right.
is condensed to a 30-minute bite-sized digestible program.
Where all the
And
contractors show up on time,
yeah,
and yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
nothing
Like,
gets
so
ordered. That's a mistake. Yeah.
it's we see the highlights, and every
Yeah.
now and again, right? Because they do have to give us they do have to give us the dun 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 moment. So, you know, three or four times an episode, they'll give us the dun 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 before they cut to commercial. But that too is a nod to the fact that in life you're gonna have those dun 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 moments.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Mm-hmm.
but you might not be able to fix it all or turn it all around in 30 minutes. But what you can do in the twinkling of an eye is come back to yourself.
Yeah.
What you can do in a moment of insight is change how you see it. What you can do without much hesitation is challenge a belief that is no longer working for you. And as we kind of make those needlepoint moves, those needlepoint moves are ripples, right? And those ripples form into the wave that becomes the new washing over of a new experience for us. Um, and so it's good and very good, but sometimes we just have to be willing. You have to be willing to ride it out. And I think
Yeah.
what you said is absolutely on point. Sometimes the obstacle that you've decided is the one you can't get over is the last one before the breakthrough,
Right. Right.
right?
Yeah.
And if
Yeah.
I stop at this obstacle, then I'll miss the opportunity to come to know how much all of what I put into it helped to add to the breakthrough. So it wasn't just this moment. This was just the tipping point, but it was all of those moments leading up to it. It was all of the prayers, it was all of the books, it was all of the classes, it was all of the lessons, it was all of the insights, it was all of the practice that led to the tipping point. The tipping point does not happen without all of that. And
Right.
so all of that is a pull on the wheel that helps me develop the momentum to move past the obstacle.
Yes, yes, yes. So I'm here for the momentum. Like I think that every choice is like I'm building momentum, and
Mhm.
maybe that word will help you not get caught up on what that end result is going to be because you're building momentum, and we have to keep moving forward because there's an amazing, beautiful, unique creation that only you can bring into expression. Like
Amen to that. Amen to that.
that is it. That's really, it's either you or nothing. Like whatever that idea is you or it doesn't ever exist because it can only come through you in your unique way.
Yep.
And so I'm encouraged to keep pushing on. I'm encouraged to be mindful of the identity that I am wearing today.
Me
Because
too.
you're right about any given day. Some days I sure look good.
Right? Some days it's a moment by moment thing. You know what I'm saying? Like some days it's just me and Thomas. You know what I'm saying? And then in the next moment it's being Jesus. Yes. You know, so some days some moments is the doubter, some moments it's the Christ. You know, it just
Yeah.
it just
Yeah.
depends.
Yeah. Well, I definitely charge everybody to ask those questions. I think that's a powerful thing that came out of just this discussion is what are the questions that you're asking yourself,
Hmm.
and answer them. Those there are questions in this lesson sermon that you can spend the rest of the week just pondering and getting clearer and getting more intimate with your divine nature, more intimate and aware of what you're thinking. Because what I do want you to go back and watch in the
Yes.
lesson is the idea of the voices that are in your head, right? Like there are many influences, right,
Yes,
that are
Lord.
speaking into your mind from
Yes,
the
Lord.
external, from people,
Hmm.
all kind of liveliness that you've given in your
Hmm.
mind, and to be able to distinguish between the voice of the ego, the voice of doubt, the voice of fear, the voice of hesitation, and the Holy Spirit, and the voice of progress, the voice of momentum, the voice of the truth, right? That you may need to work on discerning those two voices. And so the latter part of the sermon, I think that is worth another listen, because that I know that was one of the key clicks when I shifted into, oh, I'm creating my experience. When I
Hmm.
got that the impressions, the influences
Hmm.
were that they were varied, and I had to figure out what I'm listening to.
Yeah, and we're gonna take I believe we're gonna take a deeper cut at that this coming Sunday on how to catch it, how to pay attention to it,
Mhm.
how to distinguish when one kind of decision that leads to the result that I desire, what that how that involves itself within me, contrasted against another kind of decision that does not lead to the result I want, and what that does within me, and just knowing
Mhm.
how to pay attention to my physiology. So, and it won't, we won't be too deep so where we don't get it, but just knowing how to pay attention to ourselves so that
Yeah.
we know
Yeah.
how the thinking and the thoughts and the decisions and the choices are how they feel within us, um, so that even before I stay with it too long, I can know, just based upon what's happening in my physiology, whether or not I need to stay with this line of thinking or get completely off of it because it's not going to lead to where I want to go.
Right, right. Yeah, that's going to be a powerful lesson. I think we should all make sure that we click the subscribe button on wherever you're watching this,
Amen.
because that gives you a little notification that hey, it's time for service. I was looking at some subscriber stuff on the back end, and I'm like, okay, so let's start subscribing. Like that's there you're watching, let's start subscribing, because one, it helps the church, right? It helps the community to grow as you subscribe to it, because it unleashes opportunities for the community, but also it gives you a little built-in accountability system. So next week we're going to dive into something that's going to really benefit you. It's like all of them do, right? We're talking about your identity. Now it's like how to be more. This is better living here, right? And it's time for us to each live our lives more abundantly, to live our lives with
Amen.
more peace and more power.
Amen.
Um, like I said, this is not a political experience we're having here, but we can all engage in the processes that move things forward. We can engage and be aware and be active in the processes that move us forward. So I am a part of a prayer practice. I don't know if you joined in this. Someone's forwarded it to me, but it's basically like daily prayers before the election.
Hmm.
I think they did 100 days. So we're ticking down the days now. But I really enjoy being a part of a collective consciousness, and this idea of holding a space of victory, of peace, of power, all that.
Yeah.
So we do that for our nation. Let's do that for ourselves too. Get
Love
involved with
it. Love it.
your own overcoming. Get involved with your own breakthrough, and ask yourself these questions to crack your atmospheres.
Yeah.
Let's just do
I
it.
say I say it's important that I be a force in my own life and be active in my own rescue.
Absolutely. Active in my own rescue.
Hmm.
Thank you so much, Rev, for your time
Thank you.
today as we are coming to the end of this rewind. I want to encourage you to join the collective. Um,
Do it.
though I can't be there with you today, I will be back.
until you get back right.
I got to get back right with Meta, and I'll be back in the Facebook group. But know that I am there in spirit, and yeah, I'm making everything right. But I appreciate each and every one of you. I would love to know, what you're thinking in terms of what you like to see more of. A lot of you gave me pain points when you signed up for the group, and we've been sharing that. And those have been a lot of what you see, the prosperity series, all of that is a lot of what your felt needs were. And so we want to make sure that we're addressing your felt needs. So thank you for your participation. Thank you for being here. And I just bless you right now to take the word. There's something you heard today that is the exact word that you needed for breakthrough. And I encourage you to allow the courage right now that is right within you, already in your perfect pattern, to come up through you to you, so that you feel incited to move forward, that you have that enthusiasm to take action and to answer those questions so that you can get to the good that is yours by divine design. Thank you so much for this power, this presence. Thank you so much, God, for this awareness, for this opportunity for us to break through. And so we just let it be right now. We let the breakthrough happen in us. We let the greater emerge in us, in the name, in the nature, and the consciousness of the Christ, knowing that it's already done. And so we can say thank you. And so it is.
And
Amen.
so it is. Amen.
Amen.
Yes, indeed. Prayer, great.
Amen.
Come
Amen. All right, so I'm gonna let you go off to your cold environment. I'm just
It is sweater. It is now sweater weather.
It's sweater weather in Chicago. Yep.
We're here.
We're wearing light jackets here in Los Angeles. It's jacket season here.
All right. Well,
Enjoy.
Maybe I'll make a trip out that way. All right.
Yeah. God bless. God bless you all. We'll see you next week.
Love you guys.